Hey everybody, Corey Schrader, as you all know, Black Creek Wealth. Hope you guys are all doing well. Wanted to get in front of you here right before I go on vacation. I'm super excited going to London and Paris. We promised Jocelyn when she was 4 years old, she loved the Eiffel Tower. We're like, well, when you turn 16, love, we'll take you to Paris. And crazy enough, here we are. Never thought it'd get here so fast, as I'm sure all of us with kids know. Like it just takes off. Just wanted to put a quick video out. Of course, let you know that I am doing, as I always say, protecting first and really trying to find ways to make us some money in this market. And ultimately, got a couple of ideas I want to throw past you, let you know what I've been doing, what I am doing. And of course, turn you guys on to, I'm going to, of course, have my annual client appreciation dinner. We're going to do that again probably in October. I'm looking at a couple of venues, so I'm super excited about it. But definitely going to have some news as we get closer to it around that. But before I get into all of that, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on with the markets. Let's talk about what I'm doing and where I see things going. So, if y'all have been watching, the markets have, and I say markets, let me just clarify, technology has gone through the roof, especially since last week. If you haven't heard the term artificial intelligence, you're going to be hearing about it ad nauseum from all of these companies, because every earnings call that has come out in the last 2 weeks has talked about how they are implementing AI into their business. So AI is the new catchphrase. And ultimately, wanted to show you a little bit around what's going on with this concept. And I'm going to talk about something called divergence. And what that means is where things are when it's relative to something else. So I wanted to look into, and I've been running this analysis all year, and it's been keeping me just on my thesis of a slowdown, rising interest rates, consumers getting affected more and more and more by inflation and starting to use less of their money because we're using all of the liquidity that came out of the COVID crisis when they just flooded our pockets and the markets rallied. So what you can see here in my spreadsheet, and I started this again probably about 4 months ago now. So I've been watching this. And so IJR is small cap companies. From the high, and this is as of Friday of last week, small cap companies are still down 19% from the high. When you factor in how they've been doing year to date, even with their dividend, they're still down 1% as of Friday. When I look at it as of today, it's now going to be down another 0.5% if we closed right now. IJH, which is mid cap companies, was down almost 15%. It is flat on the year as of Friday. And as of today, it is almost down. It is actually even more flat. My favorite, S&P 500, essentially did pretty good going into it. That one was up. So that one actually should have reflected. So that should be 420. So that one's only down 12% since S&P is down 12% from the highs. And I don't know why I pulled over, but when you factor in the dividend, it's up 9.67%. So it's up almost 10% year to date. And going in today, it's right around that 10% bogey. Equal weight S&P 500, when you balance out all the technology companies, and instead of Apple, Nvidia, and all them having more than having a 5 or 6 or 7 or 8% weighting, Microsoft, Google, all them, equal weight, everything has about a 2.25% to 2.5% weighting. So even your small companies in the overall economy are having the same weighting as your Apples, your Microsofts. From the highs, it's down 14. But look at that year to date, and it's down another 0.25% right now. It is down 0.5% year to date. Okay. So when you take out the top 10 companies, the other 490 companies are now flat to negative. And it's been basically oscillating from that basically throughout the whole year. When we had COVID, or not COVID, but when we had the beginning of the year, up until SVB went bankrupt, essentially, when the Treasury had to come in and bail out these big banks, the market was up 8%. That weekend, the market went from up 8% down to flat on that one weekend. So the market dropped 8% in 2 days. Okay. From there, the market is up 9%. When I say the market, I mean, again, the market weight, S&P 500, the RSP, or the equal weight, is only up about 2%. And again, that's from when the market dropped. So when people ask me, Corey, why are we not in the S&P so much, and what's going on with that, and why are we trailing a little bit? Well, the reason why is because I'm watching this. If in one weekend the market can drop 8% and interest rates are now higher than they were at that point, banks are still in the same wheelhouse that they were back in March. If anything, more people are moving from banks to money market funds, as I've been doing for y'all for about a year now. All of this is building up to, will it be a recession? Will it not be a recession? Will we have a hard landing? Will we have a soft landing? We haven't seen an economy like this probably in 60 years, or at least even a market like this in the last 60 years. So when you have rates normalizing and you have these businesses that were struggling, 80% of small cap companies are unprofitable. They were unprofitable when interest rates were low. What are they now? Interest rates have gone up to 5, 6, 7. Try to get a loan. You're going to be looking at 8.5%, 9%, right? Because banks just don't want to loan out money because they want to keep it because they need to. So when you look at that, then look at technology. Technology, then the Qs are the top 100 companies, top NASDAQ technology companies. It's up 30%. I think it's up almost 32%. So as of right now, your equal weight, which is this RYT, is trailing it by 15%. And again, that's taking into account all the other ones. And technology is one where even if it has AI associated with it, you're going to get that lift. And again, there's about a 10% divergence from when all this happened in March. So long story short, what I'm looking at is okay, I want to go as quickly as we can, but it's hard for me to look at it and say, well, the overall market, the equal weighted, all 500 companies, is basically flat this year. Does anyone remember what cash is paying? It's paying 5%. So is it one of those arenas that we look at and say, okay, I do want to get growth. I do want to, try to capture that 8 to 10% on an annualized basis. Well, the game has changed where now you can look at it from a cash perspective and say, hey, if 50% of my account is getting cash at 5, okay, that's 2.5%. Now what's the growth that I need to get in order to hit those higher bogeys, right? So the way that I'm looking at it is as Warren Buffett always says, trust but verify, is there's a lot of smoke going on. You can look at oil. Oil is way down. You can look at gold. Gold is way up. You can look at a lot of different things. And as of right now, the market still has the Fed doing 2 rate cuts by the end of the year. No way is that happening, in my opinion. In fact, we're probably going to have 2 more rate cuts, or not 2 more rate cuts, 2 more rate increases, probably at the July and probably when we get back to September. So my take is I believe that the market's going to be pushed until something breaks. And in that capacity, I want to make sure that all of you are protected. And that is why I'm going slow and steady this year. And what I would tell you is if you recall last year, you weren't taking on nearly the amount of drop. And this year, you're not getting as much of the rise. So just know that I'm keeping us in the middle as we go along. So I'm trying to keep everyone in 2 to 3 foot C's when the market really is in 8 to 10 foot C's. So I don't want you guys to feel it as much as everybody else is and trying to guess. There's a formulated thesis. I believe what we're doing is the most prudent thing, and I will make sure that we come out of this in a better position, as we went into this in a better position than most of the clients out there. So that's my take on it. Here's what I'm going to tell you from a bond perspective. Okay. So when you look at investing right now, rates have gone through the roof. I believe last time I checked, the 2-year is at 4.6. Okay. It's probably going to get up to about 5. Okay. When it does this, what I'm looking at is I'm going to talk to each and every one of you as we go into the latter half of this year and say, okay, if we know inflation is going to average about 3%, because I don't think it's going to get down to 2%. I think that's irrational. It's not going to happen. Inflation will stay at roughly about 3%. And in a lot of planning that I've done with y'all, I've already put that into the assumptions. So if inflation stays at 3 and we can get a bond yield at 5 to 5.5, even 6, does it make sense for us to look to buy individual bonds again, and to look at, from even a corporate perspective, can we hold those bonds to maturity rather than buying ETFs? Because if I can lock those in and you're getting 3% above what inflation is, doesn't make sense for our portfolios to jump into and lock in those longer term rates. Because if you remember, you have rates and prices. Okay. As rates go up, prices go down. That's how you lose money on bonds. Well, as bond prices go up, that must mean that rates are going down. If we end up going into recession because we've held rates so long, so high, that will also add upside appreciation to the bonds, because now you're getting a higher rate than what people can buy in and at the market. So that's a strategy that I'm looking at as we move into the latter half of this year. So I'll be talking to everybody about that. Another thing is Roth conversions. Okay. So right now, as many of you know, if you look at your accounts, you're probably up a little bit this year. If you're in more of a growth mentality, you're probably a little bit flat this year. Something to look at is Roth conversions. So if you were thinking about doing it right now, we've still come down out of that trough, and now we're kind of sitting on the airplane tarmac, getting ready to take off again when some of this minutia gets out of the system. Okay. So it may take another 6 months. So I want you guys to start thinking about, okay, if we start doing Roth conversions, can I use the value that it's at right now, which is lower than where I probably believe we'll be at in 6 to 9 months. Okay. So if you were thinking about doing it, now's maybe some time to start looking into it and start having those conversations. And then the last thing I want to talk about is something that's really been beating me up, and this is thought of fear of missing out. Okay. Right now, as I said, I am looking at things from a protection first perspective. I have already started moving some of our money into equal weight S&P 500, the RSP. Okay. Because I do believe, and I've seen over the last 20 years, that these converge and diverge from time to time, S&P and RSP. And you'll see where SPY gets way above RSP and then comes down, or RSP comes up to meet, and they come together over time. So what I'm doing is I'm slowly dollar cost averaging into that equal weight index, because I do believe that we will see things get better. And I am making sure that as we do get some growth, if recession does not happen, you will see that index shoot up. The other part of it is you'll notice in your accounts, you have a lot of high dividend paying stocks. You also notice you have healthcare and you have industrials and you have consumer defensive. These are strong when it comes to recessionary mentality. They have been completely underweighted this year by people that are running to the tech and the discretionary world. There will be a change in that guard where we will see people shift into what we have, because they'll notice that, oh my gosh, there's money to be made there. So what I've done is, as of I did last year, is I moved us out of that pro-growth world, moved us into value. Now, as people move into value, I'm going to be moving us back into the pro-growth world. So there's a method to this madness. I'm asking for patience. I'm asking for you to look at things and say, Is it really as good as the market believes it is? I'm going to argue it's not. And I'm going to continue to navigate this as best that I can to protect you first and grow second. But I will tell you, I absolutely believe we have a lot of good things on the horizon. I'm really optimistic about it. We just got to get through these doldrums. Again, we haven't seen this in 60 years with this kind of rate increases, and they're going to push it as far as they can. And I want to make sure all of you are protected. So I really appreciate you allowing me to serve you. And of course, I do not take this trust lightly. And I absolutely view all of you as family. So please, please, please let me know what questions you have. I will be here until the 1st. We fly out on Thursday. Super excited. I will be back on the 13th. I'll be ramping up the firm again on the 14th. But I've already rebalanced everyone's accounts. I've already positioned everyone for the next couple of weeks. If they do pass this debt ceiling through Congress, we should see some more stability. But Fed meeting comes out on the 1st. I'm sorry, on the 14th, not the 1st. Comes out on the 13th and the 14th. So when I get back, I'm going to be watching what's going on with the Fed, and then we'll pivot appropriately. But again, thank you for everything. If you have any questions, as always, reach out. I'm always here. And have a wonderful summer. And I look forward to talking and working with you all again here shortly. Have a great one. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.